Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today we're talking about betrayal. So, disclaimer: I have currently, as we are filming this, not been recently betrayed. I only say that because sometimes I make these videos and then people are like, "Oh my gosh, who betrayed you?" Or like my friends and family will message me and be like, "Did I betray you? Like, what happened?" No. I just want to be able to talk about betrayal and sort of the human condition and that kind of thing. So if you are an immediate person in my life, no, you have not betrayed me. Do not worry. But I think betrayal is a really interesting trope. It's an interesting concept we see in film and literature. It's an interesting thing that humans can do to one another. And I kind of just want to talk about it because I think it's a cool topic, basically. I have been betrayed in the past. It sounds very dramatic when you say that you've been betrayed. It implies that you have like some like mortal enemy who was once like a friend and they betrayed you, and you know, it implies like so much, just the word betrayal. And it's kind of like an antiquated word because I think it comes back from like hundreds of years ago, but we still use it in our common speech today. And I just thought interesting. So a betrayal is when somebody who typically you trust does something that is completely against your common interest or your good. And usually it's quite shocking. In film and television, usually the character being betrayed ends up like dying, or, something really crazy happens. And humans are really obsessed with this whole idea. I think nowadays a betrayal is sort of like a good example of being betrayed in this day and age is when somebody cheats on you, when you're in a committed relationship. The other person goes behind your back and, sees another person without you knowing. And that's a really good example of like being betrayed. They broke your trust. You were in a relationship with them and they went off and did something else that they shouldn't have. And you hear it in music, you see it everywhere. You always hear about celebrities that get betrayed, this person betrayed this other celebrity in order to get closer with this celebrity, or, there's so many examples of it. And yeah, it's just like, wow, it's always a very heated emotional thing. It's always very contentious and very controversial. And typically people don't forgive betrayal. Typically you do not forgive someone who betrays your trust, because having trust is establishing, a mutual respect for one another and having each other's best interest at heart. And a betrayal is a direct breaking of that agreement, even if it's unspoken. Mostly when it's unspoken. I mean, who like, as a friendship, you have a contract with your friend and then you break the contract, you break the written contract. No, that doesn't happen. But yeah, I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about like the people in your life who betray you. And I was like, what an interesting word, like interesting word choice. And I don't know, I think we've all felt betrayal at one point or another. Like you see your friend hanging out with another friend or like an enemy of yours. And this could be in like middle school or something. And you're like, oh, I can't believe they'd hang out with that person. Like, what a betrayal, And so you kind of have this concept or this idea of what a betrayal would feel like, or what it is. If you've ever been cheated on, that definitely feels like a betrayal. That definitely feels awful. And sorry, my throat. Yeah, but typically you have this like very visceral feeling of being betrayed, or having someone, stab you in the back. We have all of these different terms that describe what betrayal is, and not fun. Let me just think. When was the last time I felt betrayed? Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so this is kind of a funny story. So when I graduated from high school, I was living at my parents' house and whatever, normal. And then I decided to live in England. So I moved over to my family in England's house. And while I was gone, while I was away from Canada, my parents decided to sell the house that I'd grown up in, or the house that I went to high school in. Um, which was like, whatever, like I didn't feel betrayed about that or anything. Um, and so like I was communicating with my parents about like, oh, like what's this going to happen? And like, do you want me to come back and pack up my room and like, help get this all sold and moved on? And they were like, no, no, it's okay. And so I didn't come home and the house was sold and everything. And so then when I got back, I started university, so I like disappeared up there. So I was kind of distracted. And so life went on. I went to university, all of this other stuff. But while I was gone, my dad sold these like old couches that had been, I know it sounds very strange, but they were these old sofas that my grandparents had brought over from England originally. And I really liked them. I'd grown up with them. They were always in the house, like whatever house I lived in, they were in the house. And my dad had sold them, or I think he might have even just given them away to somebody. It was like a guy who needed furniture, obviously. So when I finished university, I was like, because we had like, barns and storage places and like, so it's hard to like know what we had and anything. But when my brother and I bought this house, I was like, oh, Dad, like, where are those couches? Like, I want to put them in the basement. I think they'd look really good. And my dad was like, we got rid of them like years ago. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, what? He's like, yeah, I got rid of them like in this year. And I realized that it was when I was in England. And I gotta say, like, I love you, Dad, but I did feel very betrayed because I was just like, what? Like, oh my gosh, what? What do you mean? And they're like, they weren't worth much. Like, they were very much like a sentimental thing to me. But that's like when I think of, and it's like, again, it's very dramatic. When I think of the word betrayal, that's kind of what I think of. I'm like, oh, I was betrayed, those couches. To this day, like, I don't care anymore. But at the time, I did feel like, oof, that hurts, why? So there you go. There's like a little story of Jax being betrayed by his father, but not actually. But anyway, like the whole idea of a betrayal is something that, I don't know. I think it really depends on the context, whether you can forgive somebody for a betrayal or whether, you've burnt the bridge and nothing is going to fix this and, you guys are done. Because yeah, if you cheat on somebody, I think that's it. You just got to walk away. You can't come back from that. But if you sold a couple of couches, that's very much forgivable and people can get over that. So it really depends. It depends on the context, but if you guys are comfortable, you should absolutely share your betrayal stories. I really don't have any like extreme betrayal stories. Like to this day, knock on wood, I have never been cheated on that I know of by a partner. My friends have never like betrayed me in a serious way. I don't feel as though my trust has been betrayed in any meaningful way. But obviously, like there have been things where I felt like stabbed in the back or, a little bit angry about, or like I couldn't believe that a person in my life did something. But for the most part, I feel like I've been pretty lucky when it comes to not being betrayed. But yeah, I don't know, guys. I just thought it was an interesting topic. This whole idea of two humans who make a contract with each other, whether it's written or unwritten. And sometimes we break that contract and we hurt people's feelings, and it's very hard to make up for that or apologize or do the right thing in the end. So yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys think about betrayal, that crazy world of dramatic evil. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and as always, I will talk to you guys tomorrow.